Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spring into Adventure, where we are going to be talking about our adventurous readings over the month of April. And I am here with Mark at Book Time with Elvis, Gavin at Genre Reads, Randy Ray, the Liberal Texan, Shawn D. Steadfast, and Debs at Rainier Reads. So if you're in the chat room, go ahead and drop us a comment. And should we give it a minute before we start talking about our adventurous readings and just do a little chit chat, or just dive right in?
I was going to say, people, it's called Spring into Adventure, but looking at the age of us here, I think we have some serious bone breakage and hip breakage if we tried to do springing.
Has sprung.
Speak for yourself. Go on.
Oh, I could do it. I think I could do it a little bit.
I'm a good decade younger than everybody else, probably. So
I think Gavin's the baby here.
Am I the youngest person here again?
Oh, no.
Far from it, dude.
I think Mark's got you by 10 years.
Probably so, yeah. Mark's just a whippersnapper, just a pup.
Yeah, 45 this year, so.
Oh, yeah, you're exactly 10 years younger than I am.
Mm-hmm. Right. I was about to ask Randy, then how old are you? Shows I teach English. Until I realized, oh yeah, 10 years. It's easy.
It's maths you teach, isn't it?
Sorry?
Is it maths you teach?
Yeah, this looks like a really bad version of University Challenge. Universally challenged, maybe.
Universally, okay, I can accept that one.
Hey, so I've got something we can talk about that isn't specifically about books.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys know there's a competing adventure event on BookTube right now?
No.
Yeah, which is odd because what are the odds that it would be the same month? But it's I don't remember the name of the event, but it's a younger booktuber that's doing it, and one of their challenges is to actually go on an adventure of your own. So I don't know. Maybe next year we can combine forces and have one big adventure event. But
so what
I usually do that every
adventure.
I go on an adventure every few hours down the hall.
Right? Yeah. I hear you. I have a wound on my big toe, and I'm not allowed to do anything but walk up and down the hall. I'm supposed to stay off my feet completely now, according to the podiatrist. So. But I almost had adventures in amputation while I was in the hospital.
Oh,
I told the doctor, I said, Daddy needs all his piggy toes, baby.
I would like to keep all mine.
Yeah, I got real nervous when they said that infection might be in the bone. They said that inevitably, if I don't get this wound to heal on my toe, I will wind up losing this toe. And I do not want to lose my big toe.
Oh,
well, I know you're a big fan of Treasure Island, Randy, but that's taking it to extremes.
Yeah, right.
And then you always wonder, like, doctors seem to bandy that around. Like when I was in with my cellulitis in 2017, and it was like, oh, well, the antibiotics are working, so we might have to amputate, at the knee. And it's like, have you tried other antibiotics? Well, we could. No, you will.
Yeah.
Oh, there's visitors. Hello, lovely people.
They are. A couple have popped up. We've got Aaron.
Hey, Aaron.
Aaron. Albert.
Hi, Albert.
Ghost Riders in the Sky. Do we know?
Have y'all seen his channel? It's so good. Ghost Readers in the Sky.
Ghost Readers in the Sky. Maybe I should be
channel is so good. Howdy, Ghost Readers.
Are you there? Do we know his name?
It's Greg.
I think it's Greg.
Oh, it's another Greg. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, you're not the only one.
Oh.
Although Shawn is the only steadfast.
So, what adventure books have we been reading over April? You want to go start off, Mark? You're at the top?
Sure. Well, as you know, I'm not actually taking part in anything, of course, but I have been reading adventure anyway. I haven't started the group read yet. I do plan to start that today or tomorrow. which of course is Around the World in 80 Days. I think my naval biographies count definitely for adventure, at least the last one I read, which was about Thomas Cochrane. I've got it here, who's the real life inspiration, one of the real life inspirations for Jack Aubrey and the Aubrey Maturin series. And it was, honestly, it was quite an incredible read. It's amazing what this guy got up to in his life. And it was a long life. He got to about 84 years old. He actually even died on an operating table rather than, from old age. But I knew a bit about his earlier stuff in the Napoleonic Wars, but he went off on adventures to South America, and he was a big part in the liberation of Chile, of Brazil. He also went off to head the Greek Navy in their war against Turkey, of course, for independence. He was an inventor. He came up with all sorts of ideas. One of the first ideas for usage is of poison gas against the enemy. He came up with a new type of steam engine. He was somebody who tried to use rockets and stuff on ships and different types of other kind of artilleries and things. And he was an MP. He was arrested twice. He escaped from prison twice. Just incredible. Just really incredible. Even when he was 79 years old, the Admiralty considered sending him as the commander of the fleet to the Crimean War, but they weren't worried over his age because he was still in good condition. They were more worried about he might take reckless chances, which is something he did quite a lot. So I read that, and that was great fun, actually. Very much recommend it. You can't be bored with it, that's for sure. So much going on. And then I've also just finished another nonfiction called Sea People. I finished it today. It's a history of Polynesia, and it looks into the early European visits to Polynesia, of course, which comes under the umbrella of adventure, Captain Cook and etc. And what was really fascinating is kind of looks into how the Polynesians themselves ended up there, because how did they get there? Because the Pacific is so huge, and there's such a link between all of them, and yet the distance from Hawaii to Tahiti is huge, from Hawaii to New Zealand is huge, yet they all have strong links to them, and that was fascinating. That's what I've read in terms of adventure. I'm currently reading nonfiction by Preston and Child, which I'm really enjoying, called Ice Limit, which takes place just off near Tierra del Fuego and Desolation Island, and it's about them trying to recover the largest meteorite that ever fell to Earth. And yeah, this is great fun, brilliant. So that's
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been enjoyable. I mean, I finished actually 5 books this week. I didn't start them all this week, but I managed to finish them. 4. I will finish Preston and Child later today, but yeah.
What's with the seafaring theme?
Honestly, I don't know. I started off, I think part of it's to do with listening towards the end of last year. I was listening to the Rest is History podcast, and they were doing a series on Nelson. So I picked up the 2-volume work of Nelson. I only read the first volume. I need to read the second, which was really exciting. And of course, then started to introduce me to other people who seemed interesting, like Admiral Collingwood, which I read his biography, which was also great. We did for Patreon, we read The First Master and Commander, and then people decided they would like to read the book about Cochrane because they know he was one of the inspirations for that. And it's just, I don't know, I just find the Navy fascinating, frankly. Yeah.
I know. I've got Hornblower on my list for probably next month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the publication order rather than the chronological order, and I guess that's sort of 2 different ways to think about how to read that series.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, the Cochrane serves as inspiration for Hornblower as well, I mean, so you can see some of the things he does are very clearly shown in Hornblower, in Master and Commander, and even the works of Captain Marryat as well, who was actually an officer who served under Cochrane. So that's probably why he appears quite a lot in his books, yeah, or at least some character. Yeah.
All right.
I'll hand it over to somebody else.
Just want to go across the line, Gavin?
Okay. Well, at the beginning of the month, I started with what I think was the group read for your first Spring into Adventure, when Spring into Adventure was still in the autumn. Aha. So, yes, H. Rider Haggard's King Solomon's Mines. I read what must have been an abridged version of this when I was a kid. So, yeah, I remembered some things, but there was a lot more detail in here that I wasn't familiar with. And I really enjoyed it. There are massive problems with it, as you might imagine. But even he seems to realize that. I mean, he starts to, at the beginning of the book, he starts to use some language, and he says, no, I'm not going to use that word, because, you know, all these people were gentlemen. So he sort of picks himself up. It doesn't stop him slipping into some very antiquated attitudes, but it's an antiquated book. And it's also partly set very near where I used to live. So it's interesting to see the land described as well. And brilliant to sort of read something which is about sort of, a lost tribe and all the stuff that goes with that. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. This last week I've read 3 books, all on the Kindle, all Zane Grey books, but not westerns. He did a series of books with a character called Ken Ward. And I think they were sort of children's books, or for adolescent boys. Possibly all the Zane Grey books are for adolescent boys, but these ones specifically. The Young Lion Hunter, The Young Forester, and the one I finished this morning, which was Ken Ward in the Jungle. So there's this character, Ken Ward, who's in another one of his books, which is all about baseball, called The Young Pitcher. And it's just following him on his adventures in and out of college and learning forestry, and which all seemed a little bit, talking about conservationism, all of that sort of stuff, all seemed almost sort of environmental for 1910. And then the very next book is, right, we're going to hunt cougars. It's just like, basically, we're going to shoot stuff. And then Ken Ward in the Jungle, they go to Mexico and they go up a river and they are just shooting anything that turns up, basically. Hunting and fishing and all of that sort of stuff. There's a little bit of the law of diminishing returns there, because they start off really well, but that last book, there's no antagonist other than nature. Whereas before there is some actual story to it, and in the end they are just, not quite sure what the point was. But I've enjoyed all of them, and I can see he was set up to do lots more in this, because Ken Ward was about to go to Africa, then he was going to go to Europe, and you can sort of see where, there's this whole idea for a series planned out. But I think by the time he'd written the 4th one, Riders of the Purple Sage, just become a great big hit, and it's right, okay, well, I write westerns now. So he'd already written some westerns, but he was very much on the sort of the frontier side of things. Then it becomes the Wild West side of things.
I'm sure Randy's hunted a few cougars in his time.
Cougars have hunted me.
Other than that, I mean, I've started, I have not finished the group read, but I'm got Round the World in 80 Days. But I got and I think, Greg, you also sent this by Dave.
Yes, the PDF.
The Philip Jose Farmer as well, but it's an ebook that has spliced both the books together. So I'm reading it as one sort of long narrative, which so far is really good. It works really well.
My one issue with that PDF is that I have it on my Kindle Scribe right here, but the print is just so tight, because it's a PDF. You can't treat it like a normal ebook. You can't make the print size larger. So
No, I mean you can on other PDFs you can expand it a little bit. Because I've also been reading some spicy adventure stories. So I've got a pulp magazine, spicy adventure stories in PDF forms. I've done 2 or 3 of those stories. And some of them are portrait, and then some of them they go landscape, and the writing's tiny. And I was able to sort of just expand it by just smacking the screen a bit.
okay.
And those stories are drivel, but they're quite fun.
I think the Spicy Adventure is available. Excuse me. As a mega pack on Amazon that you can just buy a whole anthology of them. They're like 99 cents or $1.99.
I've got mine from
yeah, I think
Archive.
I've got an edition of that.
All right. And Randy, if you're done, Gavin?
Yep.
All right, Randy, what about you?
I want to make sure we're not missing anything in the comments.
No. We don't have any
H. Haggard is wonderful, isn't he?
Yes.
I read She last year as well as King Solomon's Mines, and I didn't realize how prolific he was until I downloaded a Delphi edition of the collected works of H. Rider Haggard. I think he wrote a couple of dozen novels, and She and King Solomon's Mines are both the beginnings of whole series of novels.
I have that same Delphi. It's huge.
Yeah, it's really huge, and who knows what treasures lie within. You always like to think that the famous ones are the good ones, but it's very possible that there's some hidden treasures in there that we don't know about. My favorite book in a series is rarely the one that the public likes the best. So, excuse me, I'm looking forward to digging in there. One of the things I like about adventure, though, is that it's kind of like horror. It overlaps a lot with other genres. And so I've been reading Streets of Laredo this week, which is Larry McMurtry novel. This is the sequel to Lonesome Dove. The other 2 books in the Lonesome Dove series were both prequels. But in this one, an elderly Captain Call, who's, the Tommy Lee Jones character in the miniseries, is now a bounty hunter, and they've hired him to go kill a Mexican bandit named Joey Garza. And the guy who hired him is with the railroad and insists that he take his accountant along with him to keep detailed records. And the accountant is very, very competent accountant, but he's a complete greenhorn. And so, naturally, you can imagine the hijinks that ensue, right? I'm sorry?
No, I can imagine. I mean, it's been about 12 years since I read Lonesome Dove, something like that. So
yeah, I love Lonesome Dove. And I've been told that the other 3 books just don't even approach it in terms of quality level. And I believe that. There is a certain element, you can't really call it fan fiction if it's written by the guy who created the series, but there is a fan fiction element to it almost. But I'm loving that. I'm doing a buddy read with a friend of mine. He's a younger man, and he's never been into reading, and he just read Dante's Inferno, and because he's trying to get into reading. And I told him, I said, man, I think we might be able to do something that's a little more interesting for you and a little more engaging than that. So we agreed to buddy read The Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, okay.
And man, is it fantastic. I've never read The Count of Monte Cristo, and I am absolutely in love with it. But we're only doing 2 chapters a day. We decided to take our time, and so anyway, we've still got about 6 weeks worth of The Count of Monte Cristo, man, and I'm absolutely loving it. When somebody asked me to describe it, I'm like, it's basically Batman in the 1850s, France. But it's so good, man. It's really, really entertaining. But last year for Spring into Adventure, I read The Hobbit, which is practically quintessential, and The Princess Bride. But of course, there you're overlapping with fairy tales and fantasy in your adventure. I'm also reading The Right Stuff by Thomas Wolfe.
Oh, Tom Wolfe.
Tom Wolfe, yeah, and I'm liking it. It's really interesting. These people and these mindsets are really alien to me. But But I'm the kind of guy, you've heard the saying, no pain, no gain, the slogan. I have my own slogan, and it's no pain, no pain. And these guys are the right stuff. They are not the no pain kind of guys. No. I also started the Andromeda strain, which doesn't seem like it's very adventurous because they don't travel anywhere except, they all go quarantine, but it sure is exciting. So yeah, this is a fun event, man. I love Spring into Adventure. This is a blast, man.
I read Right Stuff years ago.
I did too.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Have you done about Chuck Yeager yet?
That's at the beginning, isn't it?
Chuck Yeager.
What?
Is it the Chuck Yeager bits at the beginning of the book? Isn't it?
I don't remember, but it's just like the test that he did. I was just like, how would anyone volunteer to do this?
Yeah, strap himself to a missile. That's it. Essentially,
they have a completely different attitude about things than I do. But yeah, I love this event, and the wonderful thing about it is there's an unlimited number of adventure novels out there to read still. I mean, I haven't read Captain Blood, I haven't read The Scarlet Pimpernel, and that's just classics that I'm naming off the top of my head. There's so much more. I mean, who's Clive Cussler's got a whole series of books. Yeah, I mean, I'll be reading adventure books for the rest of my life because you know what? Part of me is always going to be a 12-year-old boy. God knows I eat like a 12-year-old boy. Box of macaroni and cheese, some corn dogs, and an H. Rider Haggard novel, and I'm all set.
Sounds cool.
Maybe some ice cream for dessert, baby.
I would just say maybe some beer and chicken wings,
Yeah, beer and chicken wings. I don't drink beer anymore. I gave up alcohol 11 years ago, if you can believe that. Most people think I'm drunk all the time anyway.
Well, I don't think 12-year-old boys drink beer, though, do they?
12-year-old boys drink beer where I'm from.
Do they? All right, put some hair on your chest.
There's nothing else to do around here.
Yeah.
Except go fishing.
All right. If you're done, Randy, what about how about Shawn?
Well, I haven't read a whole lot, but I did read or reread King Solomon's Mines, and yeah, we had this. Mark and I had this on when we were doing August of Adventures, but I didn't get around to reading it that time or rereading it, so it was a long time since I've read this, and so I reread She last year, and thought, well, I better sort of catch up with this one this year, and I enjoyed it. There was like Gavin was saying, there was a lot of details that I don't think I read a cut down version of it, but I just didn't remember a lot of the details. And I sort of realized that he became a better writer when he did She. This one, there's multiple problems with it, like even stylization, but there were things that I thought were interesting because he keeps talking. He says he's a coward. Alan Quartermain just keeps calling himself a coward, and you're going, oh, okay, well, yeah, you're not quite a coward, but and then they have this. I love the battle that they have. I love it, but love the battle they have, and you're just thinking, oh, well, yeah, there's hundreds, thousands of people getting getting slaughtered here, and it turns out the number is 20,000, like in an afternoon. Like, wow, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but in a day, I think 20,000 people are slaughtered.
He wrote it for a bet, didn't he?
Oh yeah, with his brother, to say that, and it is very much other than no Jack Hawkins, but it is very much like Treasure Island in the structure, because there's a map, and the map is basically a pornographic depiction according to the introduction there, because it's got Cleopatra's breasts and nipples, and when you turn it upside down, it's a representation of the female body, so it's like a little bit of Victorian titillation,
I didn't clock that with the map, but I mean, he does go on about those mountains a lot.
Yeah.
Now, were these actual physical mountains, or was he talking about Cleopatra's mountains?
No, well, these were physical mountains that they had to cross, and they're called Cleopatra's breasts, and the peaks of each they refer to them as nipples for each of them. But the interesting thing is too, he uses a lot of the time what they sort of knew about, like the one character is almost like a Shaka Zulu, a Shaka character, because he the way he's ancestral blood, but was sort of left with his mother, and there's like a lot of like the mythology in the Zulus that he just sort of threw in here and just mushed it up and created this other tribe that's hidden along King Solomon's road.
Yeah, I mean, he did have some experience though, which is good, of course, because he did spend time out there and he did know a bit about them, which I guess a lot of other writers didn't so much. But I was just trying to think, when we did it, we had quite a heavy schedule, didn't we? We did a book a week.
Yeah. We did Tarzan, Robinson Crusoe, Lost World, and King Solomon's Mine. So yeah.
No, well, we also did Treasure Island, so maybe we did.
Oh
5.
yeah, Treasure Island too. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 5 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, we did 5 group reads. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
That is ambitious. I found the map. I mean,
Yeah.
try to contain your ardor, everybody. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but if you turn it upside down.
Oh,
If
well,
you
that's
turn it
it.
upside
Yeah.
down,
Oh, I can see.
Oh,
it
that
now.
makes all the difference.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's getting a bit hot under the collar now.
Yeah, no, like he did, but he just, because he put stuff in that I thought was kind of interesting about the Zulus as well, and this, he created this hidden tribe, but it's still like, there in mine, there was a bit of an afterword, it's sort of about the ruins of Zimbabwe, because he wrote an introduction to a book about the ruins of Zimbabwe, and it wasn't until like it right into the 20s or 30s or even later before it was universally recognized that it were Africans who built this place, because they kept saying it was King Solomon, it was Cleopatra, it was Prester John, like it was all Western white people that did this, because native Africans couldn't do it. But it was, Native African, built. And you saw that, didn't you, Gavin? You were there, or was it?
I never visited the ruins.
Right.
I mean, we always saw pictures of them, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
The thing is one of those places where you would definitely be having to go to visit specifically some ruins, because there's nothing around for miles and miles.
Mm.
Which is good, because nothing's been built up around it. So they've realized it is an important site, and they are leaving well alone, which is good.
Yeah. So he, like, he had the typical view of Victorian and 19th century. So there is that. But again, it's a typical view, but he does pull back at the beginning, where he uses the derogatory term for Africans, and he says, no, I'm not going to use this. So it's on the one hand it's one thing, and then on the other hand he's being more worldly, I guess, as well with this. And Alan Quatermain is definitely worldly, other than, again, like, it reminded me of what you were talking about, Gavin, where he's like, they're just shooting everything that comes up, like they were killing elephants and everything as well. And so that was a little interesting, because it's like, well, yeah, so they kill it, they're going to search for somebody, and then they're killing elephants and burying the tusks.
Yeah, well, you got to have something to come back for on your return journey.
So, but yeah, it's one of our earlier Lost Worlds. It ticks a lot of boxes that are that people used before. Like he used, like I say, the Treasure Island sort of format, but then people started using his format for Lost Worlds. and they still didn't know where there were a lot of places in Africa at that time, so you could do it. They just didn't know what was beyond the X place, So, but yeah, that's all I got around to reading. I haven't done any nonfiction. I had planned something else, but with my sort of tiredness of resting and dozing for almost 20 hours a day, I can barely have a couple hours of reading, and then I've got to do some other stuff. So it's difficult.
Now, Shawn, you mentioned a nonfiction writer in your announcement video that you're going to read a couple books by.
Lorenz van der Post, yeah.
Van der Post. I got something. I don't know if it was Van der Post. I saw it in a used bookstore. Hold on. No, this is something else.
Yeah, I got to read the Heart of the Hunter first. Is that the Heart of the Hunter, or which?
That's Heart of the Hunter. Yeah.
Okay, no, I got to read the Lost World. What is it? Lost World of the Kalahari.
Lost World of Kalahari.
Yeah.
Oh, can you guys come back to me in a minute? I forgot about something I wanted to talk about.
We'll come back in a minute. Are you
Okay.
done, Shawn? You can go on to Debs, or you want to have a few more things to say?
No, I said, did you find the book that you were looking?
Yeah, it was
for?
something totally different, but it still sort of fits this, and I'll show it in a bit.
Okay, yeah, no, these are things. Gavin's been reading through everything of Lorenz van der Post, and I've started rereading stuff that I'd liked before, and then I thought I'd just hop on his boat of Post, and just continue rereading and reading some new stuff, because he wrote quite a bit. South African writer. I really like his style. A bullshitter of par excellence in his life and everything. He just made stuff up about his life. That's it.
All right, Debs, what about you?
Well, I am on a mission to prove that it isn't just 12-year-old boys that like adventure stuff. 12-year-old girls can like it too.
Sure.
So I started off with a 12-year-old girls book, which was this. Oh, it's gone the wrong way. The Last Bear by someone called Hannah Gold. And this is about a young American girl who has no mother. Her father's a meteorologist. He heads off to a place called Bear Island off the coast of Norway, down from Svalbard. And even though it's called Bear Island, there's no bears there. But she finds one and is then on a mission to return. The bear is stuck there because of climate change. The ice floes have melted. Bear can't get back home. So it was actually really good.
Is it a new book?
It is 4 years old.
Okay, that's new. That's new.
Yeah. So it's called Cli-Fi, apparently. Climate fiction.
Cli-Fi.
Yes. But I did enjoy it. I also read, for the first time, Willa Cather. I started with O Pioneer. I thought it would be more pioneering than it was. I did enjoy it. It was a good read.
I don't think she's adventure, really.
Yeah, it wasn't so much adventure. You see, you call something O Pioneer and you expect them to be pioneering. And they weren't really. It was sort of more about people, wasn't it? And relationships and things like that.
Yeah, pioneering in the mind, in relationships and mind.
Yeah.
Changing views. Yeah.
I wanted Little House on the Prairie for grown-ups, but I didn't get that.
Are you saying Little House on the Prairie isn't for grown-ups?
Oh, sorry. Just like adventure isn't just for 12-year-old boys. Then I read
Gavin's secret love is
I can't
Grace
quite.
O'Malley. Grace O'Malley was an Irish pirate, a red-headed woman Irish pirate
All right.
in the 17th century. I was a little bit disappointed in this, in that it didn't tell me as much about Grace O'Malley. It told me more about the times and what was happening in Ireland, whereas I actually wanted a biography of Grace O'Malley. But Kat, who is a regular commenter, has suggested a couple of Grace O'Malley books that do deal more with her.
This is a nonfiction?
Yes, non-fiction. She was a real red-headed female Irish pirate in the 17th century. I haven't started the group read yet because I have been reading 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea as a buddy read with Alex at Alex Unabridged, and I didn't fancy two Jules Verne on the trot. So, and also I thought I'd read the group read over the last week of April and maybe the first week of May, just to link the two. But the main one, which was brilliant, Queen of the Desert, Georgina Howell. This is a biography of Gertrude Bell and was absolutely fantastic. Gertrude Bell was born in 1868, I want to say, and she did pretty much everything. Whatever she set her mind to do, she appeared to be good at it. So she's more famous for being a scholar of Arabia and Arabians, and an archaeologist. She went off on mad missions in turn of the 20th century to sort of 1920s. She was instrumental in setting up the Kingdom of Iraq. But prior to that, she went on holiday to France and decided she'd like to climb a mountain. So she climbed a mountain. And 5 years later, she was the most accomplished female climber in the Alps. She climbed places that and then she stopped because she was fed up with mountaineering, and now she wanted to be an archaeologist and discover all the things that were in what is now Syria and Jordan and Iran and Iraq. So she went off and did that, complete with a full China dinner service. It sort of reminded me a bit of Carry On Up the Jungle. And you don't get Carry On films in America, do you? They're farcical comedy films, and you have an actress called Joan Sim who's being carried on this palanquin thing through the jungle because she's adventuring, and she's got her full Victorian dress on and her full dinner service, and they change for dinner every evening. You know, the men turn up in bow ties and suits and things. It reminded me a bit about that. But she became probably the most knowledgeable scholar of Arab and Bedouin life of that time. Incredible woman, very adventurous.
Sounds
fascinating.
Pioneer.
I'll have to look at Queen of the Desert.
Queen of the Desert by Georgina Howell. It's a really good biography. You've read it, haven't you, Mark? Yeah.
I haven't read that, but yeah, she was like, well, she was spying for the British government for a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
And she set up the museum in Baghdad as well.
And hospitals and schools.
And she was a rich girl, and she wouldn't have been able to do anything without the money, but she had talent. As she wasn't just a rich girl, she had some talent.
She was from near you, Shawn.
What?
Yes, she was
near you. But she, I read her. It's a very short book. I think it's called something like Persian Sketches or something, where she goes.
That's mentioned in there, yeah.
Yeah, I read that for like Women's History Month when I first joined BookTube. It was good.
Yeah, her grandfather was a famous British industrialist who made an absolute fortune. I think they said in there that his his company claimed it would make anything from needles to ships. He was a metallurgist by profession. So once he died, she had the income to be able to finance all of these things herself. But yeah, it's a good book. It's well worth a read, Greg.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Well,
I
I just marked it in my list of audiobooks and other books for someday when I'm looking for something to read that might just pop up. So I just marked it.
I remember something. I'm pretty sure it was a commission that was being started basically to carve up the Middle East, and T.E. Lawrence was on this, and he brought her in on this, saying that she needs to be brought in. And they didn't really. They're going, a woman, what does she know about this?
There's photographs of the two of them together somewhere. Oh, there we go. Don't know if you can see that. That's her and T.E. Lawrence together. But
there's another one, and it's atrocious. I can't remember the name of it, but
another biography.
Yeah, they made a film that was based on the other one.
Right.
The film was horrendous. The biography is horrible. Biography is too.
There's obviously issues there with the colonialism aspect of them of us trying to carve up the Middle East with the Russians and the French and the German and everybody else. But she did appear to have the interests of the local people at heart. Even though she was working for a colonial government, she did appear to have them front and center of her thinking, even if everybody else didn't.
Her letters are fabulous as well. There's two large volumes, that were edited by her mother, but obviously her mother, I think it was her mother who expurgated some stuff. But they're even so, they're still really good. And then there was two Pelican abridged volumes, or sort of cut down volumes of her letters as well.
Right.
They're really good to read.
Oh, there was one more actually. I read As I Walked Out One Midsummer Morning by Laurie Lee. And Laurie Lee wrote a book called Cider with Rosie, which I studied when I was at school. But in this one, he's 19 and he lives in this little village in Gloucestershire. And he decides he's going to walk and make his fortune. So he takes a few clothes and a violin and heads off to London and goes via Southampton, which seems a rather circuitous route, but and tries to make his fortune in London. And this is in the 1930s. And then on a whim, he gets a boat to Spain and he walks all the way down through Spain. And I just find his writing really lyrical. And this is a true story. I really like his writing style. And it's a bit like Patrick Leigh Fermor in that he's walking through Spain before globalization has made every country in the Western world exactly the same as the other, apart from the language. And he goes with no money and his violin and busks a bit and occasionally works a bit on a building site in London. But it's fabulous. And it ends just at the start of the Spanish Civil War. And then he wrote a follow-up one about going back to the same places after the Spanish Civil War. He did actually go back and fight. But yeah, that was really good. That was
so there's some comments there, by the way, Greg.
I was about to say I was going to let Debs finish, and then I'm going to do the comments before I talk about mine. So Ghost Readers says adventure stories have always been the core of my reading. Kevin showed up. Hello, Kevin. Hey, Jim. Happy Sunday, adventurers.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah, it is. I don't really pay any attention to Easter at all.
Happy Easter, Jim.
Kevin says, I'm relatively new to BookTube, so I only know Greg here, but I have just subscribed to everyone else. All right.
Oh, how lovely. Thank you.
Little House for Grown-Ups.
Thank you, Kevin.
To look into Letters of a Woman Homesteader by Eleanor Pruitt Stewart.
I already made a note of that.
Okay. Those are our comments. So now I've actually read 2 adventure books, both rereads for me, actually. And the first one that I reread was Treasure Island.
I love that.
It really, I mean, I read this early aughts. I may have read it in the 80s or 70s when I was a kid as well. I don't remember that reading, but it is such a fun book to go through.
Yeah.
And it mentions that it was originally intended to be a boys' book. It's
girls can be pirates too.
They can be pirates, and it's also a little more sophisticated than what I would call a young person's book. But also, what's great is, from what I understand, is Treasure Island created the modern day vision of the pirate for us. When we all talk about what we think of pirates, it's all coming from Long John Silver and the group out there. So that's really rather amazing how he just invented this whole meme, I guess, of what it means to be a pirate.
Well, the other thing I just wanted to quickly say is that because this was sort of based on, or not based, but he used the structure, and then he bet with his brother that, you know, he could do something as good. It's not as well written as Treasure Island. Like it's like, you know, at the time you'd read both of these and you'd go, well, this is pretty crappily written. But it's a fabulous story, but it's not near as well written as Treasure Island.
It was just a lot of fun to reread that book. And it's been so many years, I didn't remember all the details, so there's still some surprises coming through.
It's a great book. It's fantastic. One of my favorites ever.
I know. Now, the next book is, I think, my favorite adventure series of all time.
Oh, can we guess?
Who thinks they can guess my adventure
Riverworld.
It's Flashman.
Flashman.
Well, let's just start off. It really is a great adventure story. And in this story, Flashman, how do we put it? Well, in the first book, he sort of bribed another fellow to help him cheat at a duel by filling it full of blanks, and he promised him a lot of money. And then he says, "No, you just helped me cheat at a duel. I'm not paying you a red cent." So in this book, it's about 5, maybe 6 years later, he runs into this guy again. And then the guy's sort of like, So they're out playing cards. There's this like penny ante cards with old ladies. And he slips 3 cards from the deck into Flashman's pocket. And then he says, "You know, I haven't seen a card." And Flashman says, "Oh, I have no cards in my pocket." And of course, there are cards in his pocket. So everyone thinks he's a card cheat at a penny ante card game. So his father-in-law says, "You got to get out of England." And he sends him on a ship to go, you know, on a trip for a couple of months. Turns out to be a slaver. And his father-in-law co-owned. So now he's on a slave. And slaving, when you're in England, was illegal back then. And so he's on a slaver. Then he gets to the United States, and he has to then work for the Underground Railroad trying to get slaves up north. It's just a wild story. And it's just really kind of exciting. Now, if you know Flashman, he's not a gentleman.
He's a bounder and a cad.
He's a bounder and a cad. He's always how he says, tossing around with the ladies and getting into trouble. gets caught in bed with another man's wife, and all sorts of things ensue. But I really love this series.
Well,
And
it's amazing.
apparently, George MacDonald Fraser actually was a pretty good historian as well. So his historical facts are close to being true.
Have you read his book Pirates?
No, I have not.
It's ridiculous, but it's quite funny.
Is it not as historical accurate as the Flashman, or supposedly?
It's hard to say. I think it's kind of just a parody of pirate stories. It's got some weird stuff in it, but I found it very amusing. So
I have only read the Flashman stories.
So
well, Alan's here.
Tom Brown's.
Yeah, I was about to say that. There's a comment down here. Let's just get to that. Someone, I watched a TV series, Black Sails, last year, and I had to reread Treasure Island. Okay. Yeah.
But it's amazing what Fraser did from a small character, a bully, from the Tom Brown's school days, and what he did with that. Just how I think it's just amazing how he picked it and worked it, because it could have just fell flat on its face.
Genius.
It was because it was just, it works because it even gets into Blackadder. There's Flashman is the pilot in the First World War series. So
is he?
Yeah,
Flashheart. No, it's not.
Flashheart. But yeah, I mean,
it's Flashman.
Yeah.
It's Flashman.
I bought the first one on the strength of Greg's recommendation, but I haven't got around to reading it yet.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It is. I mean,
mentioned.
I wonder if he started, like he said, with this character and then worked it out, or did he always plan to write a huge series, or just something that took off after he wrote the first one? Mm-hmm. I don't know. But here he says, Greg, have you read George MacDonald Fraser's Quartered Safe Out Here, which is his biographical account of his second World War experience? No, I haven't.
Oh. Hi, Alan.
Yeah, it's very good. Alan's right to recommend it.
Okay. I have one other book, Black Ajax.
I just wanted to say I own a book that George MacDonald Fraser owned. It's a collection of poetry of John Clare, but he owned it. It was his copy.
How did you
get it from?
He owned it.
Well, it has his name in it, and then it's actually on the auction. It's listed on the auction of his items, his books, when it went up to auction, and saying there's other signatures in it and everything too. It's a collection. I bought it from a bookshop in Bedford. Like, this stuff just appears in places,
Right.
You don't know how they get there.
Well, not that I'm anywhere near as famous, but I have this huge collection of books that when I pass on, they're going to go to someone. Now,
have you written your name inside so people know they belong to you, Greg?
No, I don't write in my books.
You need one of those stamps or something, for your library.
I don't know. I feel like you're ruining the book when you put your name in it for whatever reason. But then again, like Shawn says, now he knows he owns a book by a famous author.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, when I go, I've got this nice little Ladybird book of Kings and Queens of England, and I wrote my name and my class in it. So, people will know. People will know that it was mine.
Well, I've got a book that it's the person wrote down where he was traveling, where he picked it up, and then another young woman stole this book from she says from the annex of this school where she was, I think, in London, and she wrote down where she stole it from, and then somebody else wrote something of where they got it from. So I put down where I got it from too. I just keeping up the tradition.
That's quite nice.
That's kind of that would be kind of interesting. Like, I sold this book. And then you just have a whole list,
I think that Ladybird book looks like it probably ended with George VI.
No, yes, well, no. This is part one, so I think it ends with Charles. Maybe who does it end with? Actually, Richard III, I think.
Oh, don't tell me what happens.
No, I won't.
Yeah, no spoilers. No spoilers.
It's a bit. Yeah, it's been down.
I used to love those Ladybird
When does it
books.
start though?
Starts with there's a little it's a little bit here on before the Kings and Queens where it has like the Vikings and I guess the Saxons and things. But we have some Saxon kings. Alfred the Great is the first one, and it goes through a bit of his family. Edgar the Peaceful, up to Athelred the Unready and Edmund Ironside, King Canute, Harold I, Edward the Confessor, and then I guess we get into the Normans. Yeah, so yeah, it's got a little.
What's the song? What's the song that that wrote that King Canute? There's a song that the British it's the awards that are given. Oh, what's his name? He's an actor as well. Oh, anyway.
Ivan Novello.
Sorry? Yeah, Ivan
Novello?
Novello. Yeah. And he did a song, something about King Canute.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I didn't realize it's quite graphic there. If you can see in the back, I guess that's Thomas à Becket about to be struck down by those knights. So it's quite graphic for a kid. Because, I mean, if I'm in class 2, it means I was reading it when I was like 6. Yeah, so I was in second year. 6. So 6, 7.
Here's Jim. I have yet to read any of the Flashman books. Greggy told me about Flashman the Tiger, where he met Sherlock Holmes. I need to get I forgot what Sherlock Holmes stories Flashman's in. I think it was the one right after, or the first one after the Final Solution, when he was still in hiding officially. I can't remember. So, has anyone heard of this guy, F. Van Wyck Mason?
No.
I don't think so. No.
It's just something I found at a thrift store for $1, where it says smuggling adventures in love in the days of the American Revolution. And it's just like one of these old adventure novels or history. I'm not sure if it's history. I think it's a novel. But for $1, I say, why not pick it up? If I never read it, I never read it. It'll go, 20 years or so. Someone else will get on someone else's shelf or get thrown in the recycler or something like that.
Have you read, just because it's in front of me, have you read his Graham Greene's essay on H. Rider Haggard? Anybody?
No.
I've read it at some point because I've got that exact copy. But I don't remember it though. I'm sure I read it because I read a few of them out of there.
Yeah.
One that I've got planned for next month, and Debs, if you want your female explorers and adventurers,
That looks good.
Alexandra.
Is that Alexander Fleming?
Alexandra David Neal.
Oh, okay. That's not the one.
So she was a French-Belgian explorer, spiritualist, opera singer, and decided just to go to Tibet at a time when Western women were not allowed in Tibet.
The opera singer bit is a bit incongruous alongside all the rest of it, isn't it?
Well, again, I think it's just a lady who knows what she wants to do and says, right, well, I'm an opera singer now, and now I'm a spiritualist, and now I'm, she ended up being like a Buddhist expert.
Wow.
And
that
then
looks
ended
really
up being
good.
chucked out of the country.
I've got this one. High Albania by Edith Durham. This is a reread for me, but she was, again, turn of the 19th century, decides to go off on an expedition and wanders around the mountainous areas of Albania for a while, meeting tribespeople and attempting not to get killed.
that reminds me of Mary Baker. I got a biography of Mary Baker because she was captured and she was a slave, a white slave. The Turks and her husband Samuel Baker bought her, married her, and they went to adventures in Africa.
I've got a novelization for Spring into Adventure as well. It's meant to be based on a true story of this family, a reverend, his wife, and his children, who were taken from Iceland by pirates and put into slavery in Morocco or Algeria or somewhere like that. And apparently it's based on truth.
There's a very good book on, because I really like the author Giles Milton, and he's really history books, and I guess you mix them in with adventure, like Nathaniel's Nutmeg about spice and things like that. But he wrote one called
I like that one.
He wrote one called White Gold, and it was it's incredible, really. It was about a boy kidnapped from the West Country and sent to, I can't remember if it was Algeria, Morocco, somewhere like that in the 17th century. And then there's an ironic twist to the story where in the early 1800s, when the British make an effort against slavery in North Africa, they send an admiral there to, with the gunboats to put them into submission, and it ended up being, one of his descendants. How funny is that?
Wow.
And he wouldn't have known it probably at the time. So, yeah.
Before we finish this call, I have to tell you guys about an adventure that I went on recently.
Okay.
So, last week I was in the hospital, and most of you know that I haven't been able to leave my house for a couple of years now. Week before last, I was actually able to leave my house. A friend of mine, old man Tom, called me up and he said, "Randy, let's go on a road trip." And I said, "Where do you want to go?" He said, "Let's go to Cross Plains, Texas." Does anybody know what's in Cross Plains, Texas? It's the home of Robert E. Howard, who created Conan the Barbarian, Solomon Kane. And I got to visit the Robert E. Howard Museum, which was absolutely wonderful. And I've got a video coming up, but I need to get help editing it because it's a bunch of clips. But how cool it was great. Robert E. Howard, what an interesting character he was. Really, really prolific. I'm amazed at how much he got written by the age of 30. So that was a big adventure for me. It's about 2.5 hours from where I live in terms of driving time. So, we drove out there, we visited the museum. I learned more about Robert E. Howard than I expected to. Had a chicken fried steak and came home.
What is
Sounds
a chicken
like a
fried
great
steak?
day.
What is a chicken fried steak? I always hear about them. What actually is it?
Chicken fried steak it's generally a really cheap cut of steak. Eye of round is common, but then it's battered and fried and served with a cream gravy.
So there's no chicken in it at all?
No, there's no chicken in it at all. I mean, theoretically, the batter is the same kind of batter you would use if you fried a chicken.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I make mine with a combination of flour and crackers. I take club crackers and pound them to a powder because it makes for a crunchier crust. But a lot of people, my grandparents included, just use flour.
Mm-hmm.
Although they would also use egg and buttermilk and a little bit of liquid smoke to flavor theirs. But it's a real traditional Texas dish. You can't get a very good chicken fried steak outside of Texas here in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Guys, and Debs, I'm just gonna, because if you can see the sun's on me, I'm just gonna feed Elvis and I'm gonna change position.
Okay, we've been here for an hour. You want to continue? Or
when I come back, so I'm just gonna say bye.
Get ready for my daughters. So, thank y'all, everybody.
Okay.
Big fun. Great being with y'all this weekend.
Yeah, good to have you, Randy.
Yeah, and to everybody in the comments, especially the young man who's new to book, welcome.
Yeah, welcome. You have no idea what you've done.
Now, did Mark say he's coming back?
Yeah, well, he said
we'll continue on for another half hour or so.
The one thing I wanted to say, because it was reminded me of a year or so ago, I read a book about the Foundling Hospital in London, where parents or mothers who couldn't take care of the children, or orphans. They were they were brought up. But one of the children became a sailor and wrote a sort of book. So he went on. I remember that would have been something, an interesting read if that book is actually still in print. Just something, an orphan that sails around the world, as a sailor for most of his life.
So Jim says, I have a few of Mason's books. He created the character Colonel Hugh North. Okay.
Oh, I've heard of Colonel Hugh North.
I've
movies, I think.
I've seen that name before, this guy. Somehow, that's why I picked it up, but we'll see.
Well, it was like I started watching some videos on YouTube, movies. Sorry, they're kind of adventure in a sense, but it's the Lone Wolf series, and I can't remember who the author is, but there's like 30 movies and the guy just went on writing this stuff, and it's like completely forgotten today almost.
Well, yeah. And here's Sue. Hello, everyone. So far, I have finished the group read Around the World in 80 Days. I also read The Compton Cowboys for nonfiction for the 20th, 21st century adventure. Okay.
That sounds good.
So Sue's the first person to read the group read then.
Yeah, I'm going to start.
None of us have.
I'm going to try to start the Around the World in 80 Days in a day or two. I may actually go to the audio book because they had a free audio book that you can listen to. I still want to try to read that PDF and get a feel on that one.
So what did they do with the PDF? Did they spliced it together or just continued on?
Yeah, so it is running sequentially. So it starts with Vern and describing Phileas Fogg's routine and all of this, and then there's Farmer with the first chapter or so of the other log of Phileas Fogg explaining all the ulterior things that are going on here and what's really happening. So you are reading two books at the same time.
Oh yeah, I thought it was just two books back to back.
No, they're spliced together.
Oh, okay.
That's what's made it sort of interesting. So I thought it would be a nice way to read it one after the other. But then I was initially a bit hesitant, but it really does seem to work. I'm only sort of 4 or 5 chapters in, but we'll see how it goes. But it's a great way to read two books at once.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, the guy who translated Lawrence, I always forget his name. The Three Musketeers, like he's doing the whole Three Musketeers cycle, and he wrote 3 books. I think at least 2 or 3 of the Three Musketeers as well. And basically, he says you can read Alexander Dumas, like one chapter of his, one chapter of his book, and just alternate back and forth. And he just fills in the parts that aren't talked about in Three Musketeers. So that's kind of an interesting thing to do as well. Because that's an adventure.
Has anyone read, and this is what I hope to get to next month, Rupert of Hentzau?
Oh, is that's the sequel to
Prisoner of Zenda?
Yeah. I've read that a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. We got Mark in the background, but he's not showing up.
Oh,
I can see him.
There he is. Yeah.
You can see him.
He's gone.
Yeah.
He's
I
back.
can't see him.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Oh, there he is.
He's gone al fresco.
He's on his phone instead. Okay.
Yeah, Elvis is having his dinner, so he's having al fresco dining.
Are you in the Oot house?
In the outhouse? No, I'm on the terrace.
So what else are we going to be trying to read for next month for adventure?
Oh, I've started this. No, wrong way. Under a Pole Star by Steph Penny. Novel about a female adventurer in the North Pole. Good so far. Enjoying that.
I want to find out about a woman called Maria Graham because she's popped up in 2 books I've read now. She was in the Cochrane book, and she spent a lot of time in India. She was in Africa. She spent a lot of time in South America during the revolutions. So yeah, I need to find out more about her. I don't know if any of you guys know her.
No.
So,
No.
mm.
I'm going to give this a go as I'm on my Tibet tip. So
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I'm gonna
Off the
reread
Shangri-La.
that. as
Oh,
well.
I've got that.
I read that last
It's
year.
fabulous.
Have you read, Gavin? Have you read Peter Fleming's Bayonets to Lhasa? And then there's also Peter Hopkirk's book. I forget what it's something on the Roof of the World.
I haven't.
They're both excellent. So.
Oh, cool. So I've got this one to follow it up. And then I was going to. I nearly bought 7 Years in Tibet.
Oh, that's I read that one like 20 years ago. It's
I've got that kicking around somewhere.
I mean, what's curious is that it talks about our current Dalai Lama when he was just a boy.
Mm.
I mean, and before the Chinese invaded Tibet is when he was doing his travels there. So for me, one of the books I want to get to is this old adventure book, or The Odessa File by Frederick Forsyth.
That looks good.
He used to be one of those really popular adventure thriller writers.
Yeah.
That I guess once he passed away, he just dropped off the face of the earth, replaced by someone.
Been too long ago.
What?
No, it's not long ago. I was just wondering if he was actually even dead.
I don't think he's publishing anymore. This was
looking him up quickly.
1972.
No, he's still with us.
Yeah, I think he's still with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's 86, so he might not be sort of cranking out the novels at the rate he used to.
Yeah, well, he's getting somebody else to probably write under his name, like the legacy, as so many of them seem to be doing.
Robert, the estate of Robert Ludlum did that.
Yeah, there's others that are doing that as well. There's a couple others that I just can't think of.
Yeah,
Clive Cussler did it.
But he passed
Tom
it on
Clancy.
to his son. I thought his son
Clancy.
took it over.
I've got one. What's the other adventure writer? Oh, damn it.
Len Dayton? No.
No, he hasn't done that.
And it's a bit cheeky because the person that it has written it based on an original envelope has the same Christian name. It's oh damn, I'm gonna kick myself.
I can only think of Clancy and Cussler. I don't know.
Oh, give me a moment. I'll have a look.
Well, we can talk about Nick Harkaway wrote a George Smiley novel.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Nick Harkaway is John le Carré's son. So
yeah.
And my wife read it, and she says it reads just like his father's books. He says I couldn't
really?
tell.
Wow. Because I'd sort of be.
It's a prequel, is it?
No. From what I understand, it takes place between Spy Who Came In from the Cold and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right.
I would really like to read a book about his early years, though, because, you know, the fact that he was supposed to have spied in occupied Europe, in Germany during the war, I think that'd be a fantastic read. But
who's the? Because there's a few writers that have been doing a Jeeves and Wooster pastiches, and there's one that's has them as spies, Jeeves and Wooster. So there you go. There's Venture One.
My goodness, that would be funny.
Sacrilege.
What?
Sacrilege.
Oh,
How dare they tamper with P.G. Wodehouse?
Well, there's several of them. There's the shots. the shots guy or whatever it is, miscellanea, I think it is. And then there's
Ben Shot.
Yeah, and then there's the other guy. Oh, what's his name? There's two of them at least that are doing Jeeves and Woodhouse pastiches. I've got them, but I haven't read them. But the spy one looks kind of interesting. It's like, and I'm not sure whether it's Jeeves that's the spy or Bertie Wooster.
Wooster's a fool. Ooh, I might read Scoop actually. Talking about people being full. I might reread that. That's an adventure.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I have only read in the Worcester series one of his books. I can't remember the name. It's the one where he gets in blackface to get out of some situation.
Yeah, I can't remember what story that is, but yeah,
that's the only one I've read.
I love the P.G. Woodhouse.
So you're saying that there are other good ones I should pick up eventually?
Anything that he wrote, like anything he wrote, like 90 some novels. P.G. Woodhouse, and 25 are Jeeves and Wooster, I think, approximately.
Okay.
We then have Smith with a P.
Yeah,
they're good.
And Blandings with
Blandings
the Empress
is fabulous.
Yeah. Then you
the
got
Empress
the
of
Empress.
Blandings is a pig.
A black Berkshire sow.
Yes.
A black Berkshire sow.
Yeah. Has anyone read any Talbot Mundy?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a long time ago, and yeah, Mark has been reading. Yeah, they're enjoyable.
I got that for 99p on 28 adventure novels and short stories. So
I've seen that one as well. I don't know if I bought it, or I think I had the big book of adventure stories. Had either a novella or a short story by Mundy, and I started looking at that and put it on my list because I thought it was a good story.
Yeah. I might give those a
Elvis,
go.
come back.
Come back, Elvis.
Elvis.
Run,
He wants to
Elvis,
go down the
run.
road.
Run, Elvis, run.
That one's got Talbot Mundy in it as well. But it's also got Arthur O'Friel, Norton Springer, John Buchan, W.C. Tuttle, Edwin L. Sabine, Hugh Pendexter, and Chester L. Saxby.
Maybe we should read Mr. Steadfast by Buchan.
Oh yeah.
No, maybe that will be next year's
in honor of Shawn D. Steadfast
group read.
That's right.
Because I'm packed for May. Honestly, it's just like lots of I'm doing horror mayhem and
yeah, me too.
I basically going to be reading a short story every day in May.
Well, I was thinking of combining it and reading The Abominable by Dan Simmons for horror mayhem and adventure.
Yeah, well, we did
because
that.
The terror would have worked. Yeah.
Well, we did that last year with the terror. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we did it last year with the terror. That's right.
And
I think I might do it with The Abominable.
I was like a family planner this year, and I pulled out of horror mayhem.
Oh, controversial.
It's all right. I mean, lots of things. So
yeah, I'm going with the read what you like now.
Every event. So, Angela says, so far I have read Around the World in 80 Days, Gabriel Garcia Marquez's story of a shipwrecked sailor, and Tracks, a woman's solo trek across 1,700 miles of Australian outback. Clearly enjoyed all. Wow.
That sounds good.
Like, why would you do that? Why would you walk across 1,700 miles of the Australian outback?
I've never been to the outback. I've just seen pictures, and it just looks like dry, horrible desert.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, why would you do it? Like when you already know what's there and what's around, it's like going if you were 200 years ago and you don't know, then yeah, you could find what's his name? One of the Tarzan pastiches or ripoffs that was in Australia. I think I can't remember who that was. But
It's
you know,
red,
Lost
though.
City.
It's not like desert. It's red, and there's kangaroos. What's not to like?
You get punched out by kangaroos.
Yeah.
Are kangaroos really that
challenge
vicious?
him to a fight.
Looking at him, you wouldn't think a kangaroo is vicious.
Oh yeah, it's like a rabbit's had like the super serum.
Yeah. It's got quite a kick to it and quite a punch to it.
Well, apparently they pull them together like closer, and then just with the hind leg, boom.
Yeah.
Brutal.
So Wilbur Smith passed away a few years ago. His estate keeps publishing 2 or 3 books a year.
James Patterson's not even dead, and they still do that with other writers.
Dick Francis is another one, passed away in 2010. His son keeps writing books under his father's name.
Well, he's Dick Jr., isn't he? So why wouldn't he?
I
don't
know.
I don't know. That's one way to say, no, we're not. I'm not writing under my father's name. That's my name.
I guess that's a way to look at it.
I mean, I suppose if you've created that name for yourself, it's just like a company you're passing down. It depends how they run it, really.
Like that, yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, this isn't top shelf high literature that has a certain style to it. It's formulaic. So, and a lot of times, why can't somebody else just mimic that formula? And if somebody can,
like I said,
who cares?
Nick Harkaway's got John le Carré down pat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's neither of their real names, right? So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so they're made up anyway.
Yeah, both of them.
All right.
Wow.
See, I'm actually having my adventure out and about in the mountains of Bohemia.
You're taking Elvis for a walkies.
No, Elvis is taking Mark.
Oh, Elvis is taking Mark for the walkies.
That's true. That's true.
You along.
Yeah.
Well,
at least he's pulling me downhill now.
Because wasn't it just a week or two ago that was all brown?
Yeah, it's incredible how quickly, and there's blossoms on the trees and everything. So I'll turn the camera off Elvis now. He's doing something he should. Well, he's doing something he should be doing, but not for the broadcast. So.
Well, that'll just send Greg's views way out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of recommendations videos get.
Yeah, well, since I'm on here, it's going to be on drinking urine and probably everything else. Because that's what my videos get suggested on.
Oh dear.
And current read is
now that I don't understand. Why would you want to swim to Antarctica?
Yeah.
It's a long way. It's also going to be bloody cold.
Oh, yeah.
I do it in the summer.
The last bit, though.
I don't know. I mean, for me, an adventure is walking 3 miles.
Well, the thing is, I guess now people are struggling to find things that nobody else has done. Who has swum to Antarctica or the North Pole? Nobody's done that. So therefore, you do it.
Now, where is she swimming from? I mean, what's her starting spot?
The North Pole.
North Pole, yeah.
I pulled the pole around the Cape of Good Horn or something. That really violent sea.
Nope. See you, Jim.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go. Sorry, my phone's literally down to 1%.
Okay, well, I think we've been here an hour and 24 minutes. I think it's been a good chat.
Hi, everyone.
We should do it again at the end of May.
Yes, we should.
Yes.
When we'll all have read.
All right,
the
Gavin, Shawn,
We
Debs,
will all have read Around the World in 80 Days by then.
we
Hopefully.
will. And everyone in the chat room, thank you so much.
Everyone in the chat room appears to have read it already. It's only
We have,
us.
and I'm probably gonna do the audiobook starting in a day or two, so I may actually get it done in April.
Yeah.
And Greg from Ghost Readers in the Sky, great fun, adventure on. Yes, indeed. Okay, everyone, have a great rest of your day.
Thanks
Bye.
for watching.
Bye.
Bye.